Well, hey everybody. My name is Jared Malat. I'm here with my good friend Mateo and this is the Coltist. This is an Indianapolis Colts and Indiana Pacers podcast, where we're going to title this episode "Welcome to Indy." For those of you that have been living under a rock that
Hmm.
haven't already liked and subscribed to this channel, the Indianapolis Colts and the rest of the NFL just tried to see who was smarter for a few days. Um, and obviously, we get to start by saying, like, the Indianapolis Colts with the fourth overall pick took Anthony Richardson from Gainesville, Florida, by the way. So went to the University of Florida from Gainesville, Florida. Uh, and interestingly, I thought about this. I was thinking about this. So I went and did a little research. Uh, I remember Anthony Richardson from Netflix. Like a couple years ago, there was a show on TV. I can never remember the name of the show. Um, so apparently, I just had to look at it. It was QB1, Beyond the
It's the
Lights.
one.
Yes. So, and this was like 2 years ago, but he was like a very highly touted high school quarterback. So obviously now the Colts drafted him, and a lot of people come to me and said like the Colts had to be crazy, going crazy, sitting at the fourth pick, especially once the draft starts and it gets to like third pick, and you got to be thinking like the rumors were that Arizona is going to trade out. There were a number of teams rumored. If I remember correctly, I don't think Houston was rumored to trade back up there. So it wasn't like we knew that was coming. Um, and then
Yeah.
if you go watch this latest episode of With the Next Pick, you could see the relief and the sort of joy start to come out once they realized Houston traded up. Because Chris Ballard says, "Thank you. Thank you. Like, thank you for making me not have to do anything. I didn't have to pay any extra picks to move up. None of that. Somebody else, and it was completely out of left field. It was definitely not going to be a quarterback. So the thing about this fourth pick that the Colts got to do is they got to just sit in it for a few extra minutes and just know who they're picking, and that Houston, I wouldn't say hurt themselves, but again, the problem that the other AFC South teams are going to have is that they've either over or under invested in the most important position on the field, and then also over reinvested and got a guy for the other side of the ball. So
Yeah.
obviously, I'm ecstatic because, like I'd said, Jid, right before we started recording this, I'd kept my mouth shut from the last time we met, uh, because I was sick to myself thinking the Colts are going to pick Will Levis.
Yeah.
Or something's going to happen in front of the Colts and force them to pick Will Levis at 4. And just so again, our audience knows, it's no disrespect to Will Levis, but there are some concerns on film. So let's talk about what you can see when you watch film. Doesn't appear to be like a processor. Doesn't appear to be a drop back, read what the defense is doing, make a really good decision guy. A lot of times he throws pretty risky football. One, that's on tape. You
Yeah.
could see that. Had a lot of interceptions. You could see it on the box score. And then also we just talked about he underwent like a pretty drastic transformation there, like right
For the draft process. Yeah.
right before right during this draft process. And again, we can look at it as purely cosmetic and say he was just dropping pounds to look good in a suit, or we could my brain, because I'm a competitor and I'm trying to think like, what would you be trying to do after the combine before the draft that doesn't involve like steroids, right? So that was my fear, is like not only is the dude juicing, but the Colts are going to get priced into picking a kid, right? I don't want to put that energy out in the world, right? So I didn't say nothing. Like God forbid they did. That's what happened. Oh no. Then I'm sitting here singing a much different tune, right?
Yeah.
Um, but after they pick up Anthony Richardson, it was like it in my brain. It was like that doesn't even matter what happens the rest of the draft because
Yeah. Just gravy on top.
like it was a big I got a big sense of relief out of that pick, where I was just like, I feel like what I watched on film when I was evaluating these quarterbacks, it was if you have the assets to move up and take Young or Stroud, fine. I don't really want to do that because I don't want my team to lose in the next few years because we aren't deep enough, which is the other half of the problem, right? Like yes, the quarterback's the most important position on the field, but you only get to bring 46 guys on game day. And a lot of them got to play special teams and are also playing defense, right? So it's like when it comes to the Colts way of doing business, once that Richardson pick was off the table, once that had happened, I was like, oh, now it's Chris Ballard doing what Chris Ballard does. Um, and the day two of the draft was really where I was just like, he's playing with his food. Like he got the 10.0 RAS quarterback that the unicorn that like Morocco Brown called Anthony Richardson a unicorn to his face. You know what I mean? Like during the pre-draft process. So once that was over with, then it's all gravy from there, and it was all team needs, right? So to obviously feel free to speak on Anthony Richardson, but I'm juicing to talk about these other guys, right? Obviously, we got a hometown kid right away there in the second round, but what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Richardson's going to be starting, week one. I don't think we discussed that enough, and not like I care, any given route. It's fine for me. Like whatever they decide to do, I'm fine with it. If they decide to give me, a red shirt year to sit behind Gardner Minshew and get up to speed with the NFL and perhaps the way the week goes and Gardner Minshew can teach him because my only knock on Richardson is that he has not played that much football at all. Like I saw the number, and Young, I believe was the guy with the most passing attempts. Young had over 900, Stroud had over 800, and Will Levis had over 700 passing attempts. And Anthony Richardson, he had fewer than 400.
Hmm?
So that's
Only played 13
something.
games. I actually think that's a good thing. It's a good thing because look
Yeah,
how high of a quality of an athlete he comes into the draft as, and it's like, dude, if he plays another year, that's a knee injury. That's a 4.640 now, and that was the whole thought process behind draft. If he's going to come to the combine and put up that kind of tape at the combine, he's best athletic prospect to ever come through the combine. Like facts. There's
yeah,
like show me
yeah.
another guy.
There's no
Because
quarterback that's that had a better combine, perhaps ever than him. And so yeah, like you said, it can also be taken as a positive that those fewer passing attempts and fewer games, are
yeah,
fewer treads on those tires, and he has suffered fewer hits and all that stuff.
it
Still,
means he plays longer. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
and something that I thought about was suppose that we had the number one overall pick, that we finished as the worst team,
Mhm.
and we chose Anthony Richardson with that number one overall pick. I would
Mhm.
still be happy. Like I would still be thinking, okay, yeah, we got a good one. Like that's
Yeah,
the guy I wanted,
I
and
would
we were
still be
able to get
saying
him. Yeah,
10.0 RAS. Like how we draft and evaluate. I say we like we own the team. How the Colts draft and evaluate talent is very much based off your measurables. And we talked about it leading up to the draft, how difficult it is to look at an athletic prospect like Anthony Richardson and evaluate him as lower or lesser than anyone else. When one of them, um, let's start with Stroud. Stroud cerebrally is a better quarterback. He does not have a better arm. He might have better mechanics. He does not have a better arm, and he is not more mobile. I would not.
yeah,
I would argue that is not a better quarterback prospect. When you look at Bryce Young, we've talked about this. I feel like he was too slight, and then he had to force himself to gain weight, and is not in love with the weight room or this process, and is going to get hurt as a pro because he's too slight. It's just this is just the nature of the beast. It's not personal, but like when I look at Anthony Richardson, the dude ran a sub 4.540 at over 240 pounds and plays quarterback, boys. Like this is like the one you hope to drop to you, right? Like this is
yeah,
hopefully this is Peyton Manning meets Andrew Luck and just decided to lift weights. You know what I mean? Like Andrew Luck, I saw some idiot on social media talking about the Colts finally have a mobile quarterback. That's a dumb statement. Andrew Luck was a mobile quarterback, and I want to make
yeah.
sure we define what mobility is because we're gonna talk about mobility. Is the
What was it like
ability to
at
extend
four
plays.
six?
Oh yeah, he ran
Like
a four. He
yeah,
ran.
four
He ran a four
six
six.
or
Hmm?
so yeah, not like
Hmm?
just
Yeah, like two tenths faster 40 than Andrew Luck. So the thing about the Colts, the way they're set up now is they're set up to run like a pro spread offense. They've got two possession receivers, two good slot receivers, and then they've got a great running back. So I expect to see four wide receiver sets. I expect they'll also be able to transition and run multiple tight ends so they can actually run the ball. And anyway, so what we should do is we should go in order, right? It kind of makes sense to talk about the prospects in order. Um, Obviously excited as hell about Anthony Richardson. Oh, I wanted to speak to a couple things because I've been hearing some stuff, and it's like rather than like confront people directly and be like, you don't know what you're talking about, let's just talk about this. So I'm actually like a trained football coach. Now I'm going to scout school for the New York Jets. I've also got like multiple coaching certifications for football, basketball. Like even when you're injured, I'm like took training to like help people get back in the mend. And so I've also like coached quarterbacks and scouted quarterbacks and played quarterback. I just want to make sure that everyone knows from someone that's actually like done the shit. It's way harder to throw deep. Just let's like get that out there. Just so anybody could chew on that as much as you want. Put it up against your data and just eat it. It's harder to throw the ball deep than it is to throw it short. You can learn how to do this at like inside 15 yards. You could learn how to do that. You know what it takes some quarterbacks to never figure out how to three-step drop and throw fade. That's hard. So just I want to get that out there because there's a lot of people out there like, man, his 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 short yardage completion percent, his offense was trash. His offensive coordinator got fired. They were terrible at Florida. The only thing that you could take from the statistics in college is, hey, Anthony Richards got a beautiful deep ball. That's all you can really take from his college statistics. The man can hit someone deep. But when you have
Yeah,
a bad offense and a bad offensive coordinator and bad personnel usage, which is what you see when you watch his play, watch a full game of Anthony Richardson's and then go watch any of these other quarterbacks and then ask yourself, how many screens did Anthony Richardson throw in that game? Two? How many did the other guy throw? 12? Like there's a difference here in the type of even offense they were running. So when we're evaluating these guys, we have to be thinking more than we were reading the sheet, right? Because I feel like a lot of guys are not watching film. They are not breaking. They may look at what the play call was, right? They may be able to break that play down for you. Oh, they were in twins. Oh, there was a ball fake. Oh, the defense was in a zone. They could tell you all those things, but they can't tell you why the pass was incomplete. Why was his short yardage completion percentage below par? And the reason is because of the offense. It was not because of him. If you watch his play, you're not saying like, man, he's not a great quarterback prospect. He reminds me more of like a bad Cam Newton. That's not what you're saying when you're watching Anthony Richardson. When you're watching him play, he looks like a pretty capable quarterback, and then he makes a play that you go, whoo, whoo. I don't know that there's like a handful of guys that got that in like the league right now. You know what I mean? Because the big thing is, it's like he has the athleticism to get outside and make a play and extend a play instead of just going down like a bag of sausage, right? And so he has the athletic ability to extend the play, get the ball off, and if he has to run, there's
yeah,
this
he can do it.
potential he could get bounce off somebody and not go down so easy and not be a friggin' liability the rest of the game, right? Because that's what I'm afraid a lot of these other guys are going to have happen because they're not that quality of athlete where you could take a hit, knock the wind out of yourself, compose yourself, and go right back in there and play well. And I think the higher caliber athlete you are, the you get the wind knocked out of you too, but you get it back faster and you get your head back and you're still able to be in it, right? I think that's where the league's headed. I've been saying it for a while. These defensive ends, these edge rushers, their athleticism is at a premium. They're getting drafted dumb high, paid
Yeah,
dumb well. Look at Von Miller. Like you got to have a guy that can get hit by Von Miller and live. Like it just has to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen on a non-sack. He's just going to get hit. You need somebody that's going to bounce off that, stand up, and then, like I said, the big thing I want to end with for Anthony Richardson is I said in the pre-draft process, the dude looked in the camera, dead in the eye, and said, "I want to be great." All you got to say. That's all you got to say. Because I didn't hear that out of any of these other people. I want to be one of the best of all time. They're just happy to be here, right? That's what a lot of guys say. I'm so thankful. I'm just so happy to be here. Grateful for this opportunity. No, Anthony Richardson, I actively want to be great. I'm cheering for him. Big fan. And I'm glad he chose number 5. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
AR-15 would have been a little bit of trouble. And then with the pick 44 after the Colts traded back, right? So I believe the Colts had 35 initially, traded from 35 to 38, and then from 38 to 44. So they traded back twice in the second round, right? So that they could draft Julius Brents. So obviously a big welcome home to Julius Brents, who went to Warren Central High School. I noticed that's misspelled on the Colts website, but I'm not surprised. Um, Went to Warren Central High School, 3-time first team all conference. Went to Iowa. Um,
I believe it was Kansas State.
yeah, he went to Iowa and then Kansas State. But yeah.
No, yeah, Kansas State.
hmm Yep. Started at Iowa, finished at Kansas State. Gets to come back home. Super freaky athlete. And one of the things that makes me really happy about the Brents pick and the Downs pick. The Brents pick uh is a comeback story. He had a season-ending knee injury and came back from that and tested as like a super good athlete. And again, it goes to show you how resilient we really are. That knee injury when I was a kid, that was a death knell. I think Kobe changed that. Kobe tore his Achilles. For many people, that's the death knell, and he came back and was still just as
Yeah.
dominant. So I uh, R.I.P. Kobe. But when we think about Juju Brents, again, he's a kid, highly rated prospect out of high school. Went to Iowa, which is awesome, and then finishes at Kansas State, which again is a great program. So two kids coming back to back, freaky athletes. Obviously, it's not like Anthony's from Indy or anything, but Anthony stayed home. Brent's is coming home, so you feel like this class is going to be close,
Yeah.
um, just because uh, these younger players didn't really see each other. Younger players, the earlier drafted kids didn't see each other. If you think about just like the first 4 kids, Florida, Kansas State, North Carolina, and BYU, for example. Those are like 4 completely different programs in different conferences in different parts of the country. So these are not kids that have really been around each other a ton, except for
Yeah.
like in the pre-draft and combine process. But yeah, excited as hell. I believe I've talked about this for years that if you evaluating 2 people and you evaluate them like pretty much the same, and then one of them's family lives like right there, you pick that guy. It does so much more for your ability to community build, which is ultimately who comes to your games because tickets are expensive. It needs to be an experience. So like when you have the choice of you could have drafted, I think Chris Ballard referred to it as a clump. They had
Yeah.
a clump of guys that they were looking at, and Brent's was just at the top of the clump. And you're like, right, he was at the top of the clump because he tested just as well as all these other guys. He's from here. That makes is like a makes sense pick. Again, RAS out the roof. The raw athletic score was like super high. And again, like I
Yeah.
said, I will never forget that Brent came back from a knee injury. That tells me that he wants it. And also, when you test really well at the combine, figured it out. It means you really want this job. And all those guys that the Colts are getting, they're like Senior Bowl guys that tested really well at the combine, right? Showed up as a freaky athlete. Like that takes a lot of dedication. And other teams don't draft like this. You know what I mean? The third round pick, I think, might be the surprise of the draft, if I may.
Yeah.
I didn't take Chris Ballard as a guy that would take an undersized wide receiver. Obviously, that changed when Steichen came in and immediately they get McKenzie, right? And you're just like, wait, that's a
Yeah.
little bit of an
Now you
undersized
have
guy. And now
yeah,
you
now
got
you have
2.
2 of them.
And Downs is noted for having really good hands. So
And an excellent route runner.
that makes
Like
me think he's going to play. And by the way,
yeah.
I hate correcting people because I'm not always right, but I'm pretty sure they've said a couple times that they plan to start him, Anthony Richardson, just so you
Yeah.
know, day one.
We saw like I don't know where I saw it, but it was reported that Reggie Wayne one meeting with Josh Downs, he told Josh that he was for him, for Reggie Wayne, Josh Downs was the best
Wide
receiver in that
best receiver in
class.
the class.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So
So yeah,
to
I
get
think
him third, like that was your third pick, your wide receiver coach's favorite receiver in the draft. Um, he was a top 100 recruit coming out of high school. By the way, football, first team All State, track top 5 in a triple jump and long jumps as a sophomore in high school from Georgia. Signed at UNC, partly to play for his uncle, who's Dre Bly, who was the coach there. So again, Josh Downs has got a great story, super productive, 94 receptions for
yeah,
1,000
two
yards.
seasons, two seasons
Um,
basically, over 1,000 yards and being the number one guy in the offense.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of production, and personally, I'm not worried about that 5'8", 5'9" frame.
Hmm.
Like I believe that in this day and age, look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is also small.
Compact.
You have a lot of small receivers that are making it right now, probably because of the new rules and all the new measures that are being taken to protect defenseless players. Now you don't have to worry that much about having an undersized wide receiver because defensive
Right.
backs cannot hit him like they used to.
Right. Right.
So I mean,
And
it's not
all
the same type of worry.
the Colts draft signals a change to me, right? Where it's like you wouldn't have picked him last year. You wouldn't have picked him if any of the last of the 4 or 5 years if he was available. You would have gone after a bigger receiver because that's just how Chris Ballard does it. But then you get Shane Steichen here, who's just been to a Super Bowl and just pulled Jalen Hurts up, right? And said, this is how you play quarterback,
Yeah,
how you play offense in the NFL.
yeah, and
So obviously,
the Devonta Smith, he's also tiny.
Mhm.
Like he's not as small, but he's like a feather. He weighs, what is it like? I
What you
have
talk
to do the
about?
math. Devonta Smith, the wide receiver for the Eagles, but
Oh, I thought he was like 170 pounds.
yeah, I have to do the math. Take it from kilograms to to pounds. But yeah, here it is.
One,
He's 166,
well, yeah.
166 pounds. That's
Hmm.
that's small, and you watch him, and he is kind of tiny. Josh Downs is on the other side. Josh Downs is 171, 175 reportedly. So yeah, it's almost 10 pounds.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. I mean, I'll put it like this. 20 years ago, when I was at Purdue, Joe Tiller would not let a receiver play below 165. Can you hear that, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the 79th pick. Josh Downs. I was trying to ran a 4.48 40, 5.9 171. Will become a good starter within 2 years, is what sort of like next gen stats says. But think about like an eventual starter in the third round at wide receiver is outstanding.
That's very valid.
Um,
Like that was
that's great value.
that
Um,
was the one thing that I was constantly thinking about on this draft class. It's like
mhm,
every single guy, if we got him like around before, I would still be happy. Like
right.
if we say, for example, if we had Josh Downs down at 44, I mean, like, okay, it's a good pick.
You
You
would
have,
just have higher expectations,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
and
like
then when he
you,
comes out and catches 80 balls next year, you're like, expectation met.
yeah, you're just really happy for the value. Then going into the fourth, you have. I'll have to look up his name because I'm surely gonna botch this one. The defensive end.
Well, hold on,
It's
we got to do Blake Freeland first,
yeah,
right?
Blake
So
Freeland
at,
before.
at 106 in the fourth round. Hmm. So Freeland all time Harriman High School in Utah, state champ in a shot put and javelin, all state in basketball too. So three sport all state athlete, two-sport all state athlete. Sorry. Played tight end and defensive end. Well, I actually played right tackle for 2019 to start of the final 7 games. Started 8 of 11 games at right tackle in 2020 before moving to the left side for 21. Yeah. Okay. So big time, just a big old athlete, right?
Yeah,
Big old
massive
athlete,
guy.
experience on both sides of the line. Will do whatever you need me to do, coach guy. Um, and you get him 106th in the draft. I mean, if you just take away all the measurable stuff, right? Like, because I know there's people out there like get tired of hearing about raw athletic score, but like just think about like 3-sport all-state athlete, played both right and left tackle, played 2-3 years in college, and it's like, yeah, yeah, I'd love to have an offensive tackle prospect that also is like a really good athlete. Yeah, I'd love to
Yeah,
get him in the 4th round. Yes. So it's just like it says, it just continues where you're like, yeah, I'd love to get a prospect like that and with my 4th round pick. And then we were talking about uh out of Tomawa, out of Bawore, right?
yeah.
Um
That's
out
good
of out of
pronunciation. I had to look
out of
that up.
Tomawa, out of Bawore. I was working on it a little bit before we started. I
Yeah,
figure out how to say
we're
his
going
name.
to have we're going to have
Out of
a nickname
Tomawa,
for him.
out
Yeah,
of
I mean
Bawore.
we'll just call him yeah.
Watch. I hope you can see it out of Tamiwa.
At the,
Atabare actually is how you say it. They did how to phonetically pronounce it on the Colts website. Atatamiwa, Atabore. All right, cool. But listen, so again, 110th pick in the draft, right? We won't even talk about measurables, right? Because none of that makes sense. We can't physically see them. Okay. First team All State football, won a state title in shot put, North Kansas City, right? So he's from Kansas City. Goes Northwestern. Let's see. Started 9 games in 2020. Honorable mention Big Ten, 8.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, and 36 total stops in 12 games. 3 pass breakup, 2 4. So he's productive and in more than one way.
yeah.
And did it say he played special teams? Well, Wildcats 5 sacks and 38 tackles, 9 for loss, 2 for fumbles, and again off. So consistently productive in the Big Ten. At not a power school within the Big Ten. Again, tested as a freak athlete. Um, and yeah, he's going to be potentially a rotational piece
Yeah,
along the defensive
I
line.
see him taking over that Tycoon Lewis spot, having insurance in case the unthinkable happens again with
Mhm.
Tycoon because I saw, last season when, I mean, physically he's also rather similar to Tycoon Lewis. I mean, they are pretty much the same profile.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm thinking like, okay, this is a pick in case the same stuff happens again.
Yeah. And then in round 5, pick 138, Colts select Darius Rush out of South Carolina. From South Carolina, C.E. Murray High School. Redshirted due to injury in 2018. Moved from receiver to cornerback. Played all 8 games off the bench in 2020. Grabbed a starting role in 2021 with 25 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 8 pass breakups. So active in trying to break up the pass. I like that. And played 10 games as a senior, by the way, fighting through a hamstring injury. So fought through injury, and then also, by the way, again, tested as a freak athlete at the combine. And again, it speaks to a little bit of resilience here, right? We talked about like had an injury, fought through an injury, still tested like a freak athlete at the combine, right? And I'm probably played in
Yeah.
the Senior Bowl and graduated, all that stuff, right? So again, to get that guy, and what did I just say? That was like the 5th round. Yeah, that was a 5th round, 3rd pick in a 5th round. Very productive, rangy cornerback prospect, which we needed, right? We
Yeah, we certainly needed that. Yeah,
certainly
we need
needed it.
cornerbacks.
And then also in round 5, 23rd pick of the 5th round, we select Daniel Scott, a safety from California,
Yeah,
out of
which I
St.
assume, yeah, mostly going to be probably special teams
Yeah,
help.
special teamer.
5th round, get a special teamer. That's, yeah, great value. You know, without
Safe.
running McLeod, you know, he might be even getting some playing time, perhaps.
No. So check this out. He's gonna play. Check this out. Started at St. Francis High School, went to Cal, obviously. Redshirted, played 10 games as reserve in 2018. Named Bears' most valuable special teams player as a sophomore. Started in the bowl game. Started, I have to get injury. Injury or something? I wonder what happened in 2021. Anyway, productive, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 85 stops. So yeah, and can step up and play safety and will come up and make tackles. So I'm with it. Good, like you said, anytime you can get a potential special teamer in a fifth round, yeah, yeah. Especially when he's most valuable special teams player for his team when he's in
Yeah.
college, right? So he's already been successful doing the role that you are hiring the man for. And then Will Mallory, obviously as a Miami fan, all right. Again, we say that the league is shifting more towards more two tight end personnel, 2 and 3 tight end personnel sets. So again, we talked about like Colts tight end room's probably going to change a little bit. Colts draft Will
Yeah.
Mallory. His dad, Mike Mallory, was a linebacker at Michigan. He's been a coach for a long time. Coach Jeremy Shockey when he was at the Saints. Apparently, Will Mallory slid in the draft because he had a bad, tough combine and senior day. Apparently, he had a pretty quiet outing. So he slid. I mean, obviously, Colts get him again in the fifth round at the 27th pick at 162. Again, he's got super productive in college. Um, led all tight ends in the ACC with 42 receptions. Um, again, not even a guy that you can say will definitely make the team, but
Yeah, but
it's
you
going to
know, with
provide some juice in your
yeah,
tight
six
end
round.
room.
I mean, I'm not asking much
No,
for a
he could be
six
a
rounder.
practice
You know,
squad
you're
player.
like,
That's
okay,
that's what I was
grab a
saying.
grab a high ceiling guy, grab a guy who you think, you know, perhaps can develop or can
Mm-hmm.
challenge those guys. I mean, 6th round pick, if he's not on the roster come week one, I'm not particularly, you know, disappointed or, you know,
No.
saying, oh, but Chris Ballard did not nail that 6th round pick. You're like, okay, you know, you're taking shots.
Yeah. They're just trying to get one of these right. The guy I couldn't really find much about, but I'm excited to learn, Titus Leo, edge rusher out of Wagner. All right. So he's from Sheepshead Bay, New York. He's a grad student. Long story short, basically like one of the best prospects. So what is the Buck Buchanan Award? Let's look that up real quick because he was a finalist for that, which is FCS Defensive Player of the Year. Okay. So, okay. Important again. You could talk about all the measurables 6'3", 243, blah, 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 like RAS out the roof. Blah, blah, blah. They're all good athletes. Listen. Um, okay. So played both linebacker and defensive end, the defensive line. So has experience at multiple positions on the defense. Um, has been productive. Size, he has that. Athleticism has that. Productivity has that at the FCS level. But hey, I'm warning you all about knocking these FCS boys. EJ Speed, sir. Um, having himself a nice little NFL career. That's an FCS kid. Kenny Moore, Valdosta State, is an FCS kid. You know what I mean? Oh, what's that other guy's name? Darius Leonard? Is that an FCS kid? Pretty sure
Yeah.
he's an FCS kid. So Colts grab a good again 6th round productive plays positions that are you need pass rushers. You need people that want to hit people, right? That's one of the things you can be missing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, so that's the Colts 6th round pick, and then with the 221st pick, the Colts select Jalen Jones, cornerback out of Texas A&M, 4-star recruit out of Steele High School in Texas, was the district's defensive MVP. Um, Started for at Texas A&M as a freshman. Both his parents were in the Navy. The only thing I don't see is a lot of pass breakups. So it's like, does he not play in phase a lot? So again, this would be a guy that you're like special teams, a depth piece. You know what I mean? Hope he makes it. Um, Again, the knocks I'd have on a cornerback is he missed a couple games due to injury in college. Did not have a lot of pass breakups in college. Kind of makes you wonder what he was doing. Um,
Yeah,
but a really good athlete. His parents are veterans. So, I'll root for the kid. And then the last pick for the Colts, Jake Witt, pick 19 or 236 in the seventh round out of Northern Michigan University. Hear me though, 6'7", 302. All-state football and basketball player at Ewan Trout Creek High School in Michigan. Played football, didn't play football till he was a junior.
yeah,
Almost took a scholarship at Northern Michigan or walk on at Central Michigan. Decided to join Michigan Tech's hoops team. Was a middling player. Um, didn't play a sport at all in 2019. Joined the football team in the spring of 2020. Didn't play that year. So yeah.
yeah. That's like probably the Chris Ballard what the fuck pick in every single draft. There always has to be one guy where you're like, who is that? Where did he go to? What did he play? It seems like there is always one. I can't remember EJ Speed. I can't remember several other ones. Like it just seemed like that. Seventh
Well,
round pick again.
here's why you picked the kid. Are you ready for this? Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you. Listen to this. So in 2021, he actually started the season as the tight end, moved moved to right tackle during halftime of the team's game against Ferris State without having ever played the position before. And then in the next year, he's the left tackle. So he wasn't even like gonna play football. Comes to play football, is the tight end. He's probably catching balls. And then at halftime of a game, he has to go play right tackle. Never played that position before. And then the next season, he's at left tackle, plays the whole year at the position. And he's 6'7", right? He's a big boy. Big boy, good athlete. And hey, basketball players, we know having good feet transitions well, right? So, like you said, kind of a funky pick because 6'7", 302 that's a big tackle. That's a tall guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's great against a Puma. You know what I mean? Like real talk. I don't know if that's great against a guy that's like all the way down there, you know what I mean? Sniffing the grass. Um, so yeah, that was the Colts 2023 NFL draft class. I'm sure there's like some better way to do that, but I love it. I love find out where they're from, when they went to high school, how'd it go, what happened, without getting too much into like raw athletic score, because we already knew that. That's how we draft pick kids, is because they come to the combine prepared, right? But why you pick them, I think it's pretty evident if you look at the way Chris Ballard drafts, right? You got to come prepared to the combine. You got to show up to Senior Bowl. I like guys that graduate college. Why? It's because like you're a Colt forever, right? And it's like if you flop out of the NFL, oh, the Colts picked him, and oh, he didn't graduate college either. No, he got picked probably a year too soon. Oh, he probably needed another year. Like you don't want that. You want the
Yeah.
guy where it's like, dude had all his shit together. He had a college degree, came to combine, tested as one of the best athletes at the position in his class, and then they're going to come into the NFL. They're going to be stewards for not only your organization but your city. And I look forward to it. And a lot of people are like down on this on Anthony Richardson because he struggled in the short area in college, and I blame his offensive coordinators and blame the style of offense they were running. Um, they basically they reminded me of the Cincinnati Bengals, actually, where like the Bengals will find themselves in like 3rd and 17, like 14 times in a game and somehow win. And you're like, hey, that's Anthony Richardson in college, except he's Joe Burrow. And it's like, okay, so we're still talking about like the dude's a freak. The guy at quarterback's like insane, right? And even though the team cannot move the ball forward, it's 3rd and 17. He's completing that long pass, moving the ball, and it's like, oh, he's not doing it with his feet. Nobody's saying that. Nobody is watching Anthony Richardson's tape and going, kid's all feet. You know what I mean? Like, oh, all he can do is run. No, no, that's not what we're saying. And when you look at the data, it's like, dude's got a cannon. That's awesome. You have to have that.
Yeah.
And he has shit to work on. And guess what, boys? If you're gonna get better, you got to have that too, right? That's them just facts. You gotta have something you suck at. You know, it's like sucking at free throws in basketball and being a guard. Guess what? You don't have a choice but to fix it because a lot of his passes are going to be short passes, especially when you get two guys that are like under 5'10". You ain't gonna be a sea of them way down in there. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna give it to him right out on wing. So it is the off season for the Pacers, so I figure it's to close.
Yeah.
I did see Halliburton on a podcast last night talking
Yes.
about
That
Jordan
Jordan Poole
Poole's
shot. Yeah.
shot
And who was the
with
guy? Was it Channing Frye?
yeah, it was Channing Frye.
Who said, "Okay, that's the
That's why
reason
you're here with
you're
us.
right next to me." And they, I don't know if it was the Pacers or what was that posted, the clip of
Of him
Tyrese,
hitting him.
making that, yeah, hitting that second shot against the.
And for the record, with less than 10 seconds left, the look that Jordan Poole got was an open look. I think the only problem I have is that you have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on your team. You had 10 seconds left. You ought to try to at least look at either one of them people before you decide to pull that trigger.
You're not
But
that guy.
but Jordan Poole is not the kind of guy to not try to take that shot. So
Yeah,
you don't pay him all them dollars to not to pass that ball when he's that wide open. And again, it was a little deep, but again, it's not a shot that people don't regularly shoot and hit in the NBA. So it's like, what? Like, I don't understand the grief, right? Like the grief that Jordan Poole got. Don't
yeah.
get it. And then Channing Frye telling Tyrese Halliburton, that's why you're sitting here with me. And it's like, did you see what his plus minus was when he was healthy and active on the Pacers? Did you see what their record was when Tyrese Halliburton was available the whole game? Like before you tell some kid like you might want to be a little less confident.
Yeah, especially,
You might want to go watch his
since,
film,
yeah,
right?
also,
So
especially since, yeah, I respect Channing Frye. He did have a what 13, 14-year career in
yes,
the
he
in the
did.
NBA. But you were mostly a role player, you were just a guy, probably riding the bench, and you're talking with an all-star. So, you might just take it a little, like take it down a notch. So,
Agree. And then to close here, the 2023 NBA draft will be held in the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, June 22nd. So we've got about about 6 weeks until the NBA draft.
yeah, we
The
have
way
the
we
lottery.
yeah, we'll have the lottery to talk about. The last thing that I'd heard, I believe, was the Colts won a coin flip to guarantee a top 7 pick or something like that.
The
So
Pacers.
yeah, the Pacers won a coin flip.
Yeah,
I think over, I don't even remember who they won it over, but they won it over someone and that guaranteed like a top 7 pick. Is like cool. Um, and then yeah, damn, it feels good to be a Colt. You know what I mean? This season, you know,
yeah,
you definitely had a very Chris Ballardy draft, and it just I wasn't really shocked. It made, like I said, the Downs pick when I was like, wow, I would have just thunk a big possession receiver. You know what I mean? Why not just have like 15 of them? But that was about the only time I was a little like, huh, went a little outside, coloring outside the lines there, Chris. I like it. So yeah, feels good. I'm super excited to see. Gosh, I just can't imagine how you defend. How do you defend Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson at the
yeah.
same
You just
time?
don't.
How do you do that? That seems you're gonna run out of people. So yeah, you think we're good here?
Yeah, we're good.
Episode 7, lucky number 7, the post draft glow that we're currently sitting in. Um, yeah. Have a great week. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. See you, brother.
See you, man.